In June of 2021, an American scientist named Jesse Bloom approached the heads of the National Institutes of Health with startling information. He had discovered a series of deleted viral sequences which appeared to prove that the COVID-19 outbreak started earlier than reported by Chinese authorities. His findings also meant that the outbreak could not have originated at the Huanan Seafood Market in Wuhan, which remains the favorite theory of natural origin proponents. But when Bloom presented his data to NIH heads Francis Collins and Anthony Fauci, along with Fauci-funded scientists Kristian Andersen and Robert Garry, Bloom was subjected to intense pressure to remove his findings from the public sphere. Immediately after the meeting with Bloom, Collins and Fauci embarked on a mission to suppress Bloom's findings. Hi everyone, and welcome to Truth Over News with Jeff Carlson and Hans Manke.
Proponents of the natural origin theory for the emergence of COVID-19 frequently point to the Huanan Seafood Market in downtown Wuhan as the source of the outbreak. Kristian Andersen, a Fauci-funded scientist who's been at the forefront of the relentless push of a natural origin narrative, recently attempted to reestablish his narrative that the market was the epicenter of the pandemic. Predictably, the New York Times and other corporate media outlets immediately gave him front-page coverage. Andersen's claim places the origin of the pandemic in December 2019. But this start date for the pandemic is much later than other evidence suggests, including earlier reports of sick patients and a severe flu-like illness spreading in Wuhan in October 2019. There's also additional hard scientific evidence that places the start of the outbreak earlier than December. That evidence was uncovered by Seattle-based scientist Jesse Bloom, who in 2021 unearthed deleted NIH sequences that were still fortunately archived on Google Cloud. In a sequence of posts in March and June of 2020, a Chinese scientist from the University of Wuhan submitted viral sequences to the National Institutes of Health database. Those sequences appeared to prove that the prevalent narrative surrounding the COVID-19 outbreak was entirely wrong. The outbreak had started earlier than what had been reported by the Chinese Communist Party authorities. However, this same Chinese scientist, likely under intense pressure from the CCP, later persuaded the NIH to delete those same sequences that he had previously uploaded.
Why the NIH would agree to delete crucial viral sequences is a story unto itself, and one that would have long-lasting ramifications for not only our country, but also for the entire world. The subsequent actions taken by the NIH strongly indicate that disclosure of the deletion was something the heads of the NIH, Collins and Fauci, wanted to avoid. The sequences had been uploaded to the NIH's Sequence Read archive in 2020. They were later deleted at the behest of the Chinese national who uploaded them. Crucially, those sequences showed the existence of an earlier A lineage of the COVID-19 virus, which predated samples from people who got sick at the market in December of 2019. When Bloom discovered these sequences, he contacted the heads of the NIH, including Collins and Fauci. Bloom now says he knew his discovery was going to be controversial and that he had reached out to Collins and Fauci because he wanted to both alert the NIH as well as explore avenues for cooperation with the NIH, in particular on uncovering additional deleted sequences from at least 2 other Chinese researchers, which might shed additional light on the origins of the pandemic. But Bloom miscalculated politically. The people running the NIH had no interest in uncovering the true origins of the pandemic. They were already fully involved in an intricate cover-up of the outbreak, a cover-up that had started with a secret teleconference organized by Collins and Fauci on February 1st, 2020.
In the weeks leading up to that conference call, Dr. Robert Redfield, a virologist and the director of the CDC, had urged Fauci to investigate the lab leak theory along with the natural origin hypothesis. For his efforts, Redford was excluded from any ensuing discussions, including the February 1st conference call, learning only later that they'd even occurred. Bloom contacted the NIH heads on a Friday night. The response was swift. By 10 p.m., he got a reply from Collins, who feigned surprise, claiming that Bloom's discovery appeared to be intriguing. At 5 a.m. that following morning, NIH Director of the National Library of Medicine, Patty Brennan, emailed a number of NIH staff, including Fauci, to say that she had just spoken to Collins and Steve Sherry, the head of NIH's National Center for Biotechnology Information, about the Bloom situation. Meanwhile, Collins went about setting up a conference call for the following day, Sunday, June 20th, 2021. Collins made sure to include both Fauci and Deputy NIH Director Lawrence Tabak. Two other men were also invited to the meeting, Kristian Andersen and Robert Garry, two Fauci-funded scientists who had been actively promoting the natural origin theory at Fauci's behest. The urgency of the meeting, established by the highest official within the NIH, is a testament to the serious nature of the problem that Bloom's discovery presented to the NIH. The meeting did not go well. According to notes taken by Bloom, Fauci-funded scientist Andersen pushed back very hard against Bloom, pressuring him to withdraw the paper detailing his discovery. Garry applied pressure as well. Bloom's notes, which he recently published online, are also backed up by the accounts of two other scientists who accompanied him on the call.
During the call, Andersen claimed that he was a screener at the preprint server and that he personally had access to papers that weren't yet made public. Incredibly, Andersen suggested that he could entirely delete Bloom's preprint or revise it in a way that would leave no record that this had been done. Andersen was effectively proposing to cover up the entire affair so that there would be no trace left of Bloom's discovery. Andersen also told Bloom that since it was the Chinese scientist who had requested that the sequences be deleted, it was unethical for Bloom to continue investigating them. Andersen also aggressively disputed the significance of Bloom's findings, claiming that there was nothing unusual about the early genomic sequences in Wuhan, and cited this as a reason not to publish them. Lastly, Andersen claimed that he and other NIH-affiliated scientists were already the subject of significant public criticism, and he said that Bloom's paper would create new negative attention for himself and others. He also said that that was a reason not to publish Bloom's findings.